What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Mike Sports Podcast Show. Your host, truly, Mike, starting the show off with shout outs. Uh, Last night, we witnessed the start of the second round of the NBA playoffs. Want to touch on a couple of things. Uh, Game one, of course, the Knicks versus the 76ers, and then the Spurs versus the Timberwolves. Also got a little bit of Tiger talk uh, to talk about, and got two stories, read and react stories to dive into. But starting off with the shout outs, I wanted to shout out um, something that I noticed last year, and I've said this before when it comes to the playoffs and the Grizzlies, that there a lot of Grizzlies are actual NBA champions after they leave Memphis and they go on to different teams. I'm not going to go into that list, but I am going to go into the current uh, or former Grizzlies that are currently in the NBA playoffs or played in the NBA playoffs this year. That being Marcus Smart, Luke Kennard, Merrill, Mike Conley, of course, Kyle Anderson, Bismack Biyombo, Kyle Lowry, Garrett Temple, Desmond Bain, Dylan Brooks, Steve Adams, Jeff Green, and Jake LaRavia. Those were or are some of the former Grizzlies that have played in these playoffs. Of course, Dylan Brooks, Steve Adams, Jeff Green, Desmond Bain, Garrett Temple. Yeah, they are not they are out, but um, they were in the playoffs, and I believe that was everybody. But just an observation to emphasize the point that these are pretty much veterans. I don't know. Did I say Jake Laravia from the Lakers? He's in there, but this is just an observation of veterans that the Grizzlies have had, that we've had in our building, in our city, surrounding Ja and Jaren, um, in all an effort to win a championship, and they are, uh, I guess you can say they're thriving in their role on different teams. But shout out to them and what they're doing. Also, shouting out Aaron Bradshaw. Aaron Bradshaw, former Tiger last year, wasn't didn't have a great season. He had ups and downs, had some issues, with the team, with his overall play. Uh, but he transferred to Tennessee State with Nolan Smith, who was a former Memphis Tiger head coach, former Memphis Tiger assistant coach, I should say, under Penny. But he is transferred to Tennessee State, and you kind of just wonder exactly what went wrong or what happened. In particular after the season, because I thought that he had a chance of staying in Memphis. The deadline passed after Ed Scott and Penny had their press conference. We didn't hear anything from Bradshaw for about a week, and there was speculation of whether he's staying or whether he's going. But he eventually put his name in the portal at the last minute, and things got quiet, and now he's with Tennessee State. So shout out to him. We wish him well. I just think it's interesting that he put his name in the transfer portal. He could have been a starter. I mean, and just developed again over the summer, do a redo, a reset going into this season as a Memphis Tiger. And I think he would have been helpful for this team. We're just having the full summer off season underpinning and working on this game. But shout out to him. Um, the story of the day that I want to read comes from David Muntz. And shout out to him. The title is Grab Your Popcorn, Memphis Basketball, UAB Get Testy on social media. So, of course, Matt Blow, a JUCO, who's a double-double, big type player, ranked, I believe, in the top 15 of JUCOs, big men, came, visited Memphis, and then visited UAB right after. And it was quoted by Matt Blow that he felt like Memphis would not develop his game the way that UAB could and Andy Kennedy. So I'm just going to read the story, and then I want to talk about it later. But needless to say, it's been quite comical and hilariously laughable. Some of the things that I've seen on Twitter so far. But here it goes. As you thought there was no intrigue left for Memphis basketball in the American Conference, a couple of recent recruiting head-to-heads between the Tigers and UAB Blazers, followed by a volley of late evening subtweets on Twitter or X between members of the respective coaching staffs on May 4th, may have dashed that notion. Memphis and UAB, two programs forever intertwined thanks to several notable figures, including Coach Gene Bartow, and whose first meeting took place on February 4th, 1984, are not unfamiliar with drama when it comes to one another. Of course, Memphis and UAB are rivals, of them being rivals. But the latest chapter was apparently set in motion April 30th. That's when South Georgia Technical College 6'11" center Matt Bowl took an official visit to Memphis. He posted photos of himself in the Tiger jersey on social media. Bowl, 11th ranked junior college recruit in the country, according to JUCOrecruiting.com. Then took to an official visit to a UAB on May the 1st. He signed with the Blazers on May the 3rd. In a subsequent interview with the Banner, Bowl directed a bit of shade the Tigers' way. I quote, I don't think I was going to develop my game and a professional career in Memphis, he said. Coach AK intends to develop my game over the long term so that I will be able of hold on. Coach AK intends to develop my game over the long term so that I will be able of playing at the professional level after college. Less than an hour after Ball quote appeared on X, Memphis assistant Trevor DeLoach made the following post. Quote, you can't believe everything you see on here. The first year Tigers staffer noted. 2 hours later, first year Blazers assistant Jesse Bopp seemed to clap back with a cryptic post of his own. Relationships matter. Relationships still matter, he wrote. punctuating it with a dragon emoji. 30 minutes later, UAB head coach Andy Kennedy, quote, tweeted his assistant's post with a message of his own: buying versus developing. Hashtag exceeding expectations. Hmm. Kennedy's message appeared to be a shot at Memphis, which is widely considered to have the deepest pockets of any program in the American. And Hardaway, who has coached 11 players that have gone on to play in the NBA, Deloach fired off one more subtweet. It's a lot of shade going on, I see. All I'm going to say is M Town, he posted. Bo is not the only player both Memphis and UAB pursued this offseason. On May 1st, the Tigers secured commitment from 6'9" big Cornelius Williams, the former North Alabama standout's mother, Deidre Brown, Miss Brown, told the Commercial Appeal recently that UAB was highly interested in Williams. So here it is basically a back and forth with the coaching staffs regarding a junior college recruit. Um, Article goes on to say this series has featured plenty of spice in the past. Of course, there was that ugly post game fracas on February 16th, 2008 at Bartow Arena when tensions boiled over after the top ranked Tigers pulled off a miraculous rally to remain undefeated. UAB fans pelted Memphis players with cups, pom poms, and bottles of alcohol. Several players, Tiger players, had to be restrained, along with the photo of Pierre Now's open handed making contact with the Blazers fans' face appeared February the 18th, 2008. Um, this rivalry pretty much runs deep. There was the Kennedy ejection from a game at FedEx Forum on March 3rd on 2024. UAB had a 15-point halftime lead, only to lose by 19 points after getting outscored 60-26 in the second half. There were the three heated battles during the 24-25 season, which were underscored by their own social media spats with former stars Dane Danger and Yaxel Lindenborg, who transferred from UAB to the University of Michigan. And we know that they had a successful season. University of Michigan had a successful season last year. The American Conference schedule has not been released, so it's unclear when or how many times Memphis and UAB will square off during the 2026-27 season. The teams have met twice each of the past three seasons, with the Tigers holding a 5-2 advantage. Memphis is 44-13 all time versus UAB. This was written by Jason Muntz, who does a phenomenal job at the Commercial Appeal. Um, and it's just funny. Um, it's never a win. I mean, we lost a recruit to UAB primarily by his choice, and from the tweet, um, there was another tweet that kind of suggested that he did not want to compete. You want a defined role. I'm assuming that he just wanted to be automatically named a starter. I don't know. I don't know all the you know intricate details or of their recruitment or conversation, but the Tigers don't have a listed center at this point, so he would be at least on paper, the only center to start. And so for him to choose UAB over possibly an instant opportunity to play is kind of like a head scratcher. But anyway, that is the story of the day. I'm gonna talk more about it. And there's another story by Jason Munz I'm gonna read a little bit later, just previewing the roster of the Memphis Tigers and kind of what to expect, of what scouts and assistant coaches say by the team. But looking at the NBA playoffs round two, Philly versus Knicks game one, just watching that game on last night, a couple of things that stood out to me during that game is that, Philadelphia, the 76ers were basically outplayed. Looked like they pretty much weighed the towel, and the Knicks proceeded to just blow them out. Um, but some of the things I observed is that Philadelphia, they kind of played at a slower pace because Embiid was efficient. Um, because Embiid, as efficient as he is, he kind of takes the air out of the ball. The ball kind of stops. Embiid gets the ball and it, just forget getting the ball if you're Eshcom, Maxi, or Paul George. At times he gets the ball and he takes it, score, and attempts to score or shoots the ball. And then there are times where he does, pass the ball, but he kind of takes the air out of the ball, makes it difficult for the others to find rhythm. And I kind of saw that during the game. Philly, they play their best when they play downhill. And I just don't think that they were able to do that. The Knicks are getting credit for their defense, but in reality, Mitchell is their best defender and defending big at least. And so, really, if the Philadelphia 76ers run at Cat, they could get him in foul trouble. He'll be out, and Cat and Mitchell, both of them. Because and the reason why I say you got to attack Carl Anthony Towns because he's really asserting himself these last four games, just being the best player on the court, or at least being right up to par with Jalen Brunson. So give credit to the Knicks because they're finally playing as a unit and they look really good. Cat is asserting himself. That matchup versus Embiid is a very personal matchup between them. Um, had just having physical altercations on the floor. You got Jalen Brown after the series with Celtics pretty much calling uh, Embiid for flopping. And I think at the beginning of the game, it looked like the Knicks were a little too focused on his flopping. Some of them were foul, some of them were play on from my point of view, but the Knicks they're playing more as a unit, sharing the ball, getting the ball um, from one end to the next, one side of the court to the other, and they're making it difficult for Philly. Plus, the Knicks bench is a whole lot deeper than Philly. This could end in 5. It could go 6. Um, we'll just see how Philly responds. Uh, Again, it looked like they gave up. They knew the writing was on the wall, and Knicks just ran away with it lead wise. I don't think, and with the turnaround time, they could have been tired. I know from just the Celtics series game 7, and then they turn around and play even before the Lakers. and OKC play, in which they play tonight. But the Knicks being fresh and the 76ers just coming off of game 7 on Saturday and then playing Monday, uh, it's quite a tall task. So we'll see how Philly responds after game 1, and hopefully this series can be competitive. Now on to the Wolves and the Spurs game 1. This was a master job, masterful masterclass job coaching from Coach Finch of Minnesota, just finding ways to keep Wemby out of the paint. I could tell the experience just looking at it is really, really um, been a great foundation for Minnesota in their past failures in the playoffs. They are really leaning on their past experience, and they are a scary team, underrated team. Entering the playoffs, uh, they just have that it factor. They just look different. They just look like they're going to take over. Um, they got Perkins already backing up on his what he said that the Spurs were going to win the Western Conference Finals and head to the finals. He's already backing off that, and he's already saying after just one game that the Minnesota Timberwolves are going to win the series. So, uh, that's big flip of perk. Uh, but Jay McDaniels, what more can you say? His ball pressure is making life extremely uncomfortable for the Spurs guards. Defensively, he's elite. Um, I mean, guarding Castle full court, guarding Jamal Murray full court in that series with Denver. He is making life extremely difficult for the opposing guards. Just their mentality. Anthony Edwards coming back, which he was suspected to miss the first 2 games with just bad knees, hyperextended knee, looked really, really bad and avoided a potential scare, with a torn ACL, which would have been devastating, I believe, for his career. Uh, but for him to come back the way he did with 25 minutes, scoring 18 points, that's a big deal. And still in the win on the road, that's a big deal. Um, the Spurs, on the other hand, their shooters, they have to be efficient and ready to hit those wide open shots. Um, Spurs, they're gonna have to adjust defensively and not allow blow blys because Shannon, uh, guard from Illinois, he is driving the ball downhill and he looks unstoppable. He does not care at all. Um, if he gets blocked, he's going to continue to attack the basket. And they obviously have just built a culture down in Minnesota where they just don't care, and they're going to aggressively attack the basket, and it's spreading throughout uh, their locker room in these playoffs. The very resilient group of players, but the Spurs they're going to have to make some adjustments. Uh, what I would do if I were the Spurs is I would insert Plumlee into the lineup because they really play with 4 guards and 1 center, that being Wemby. And so Randall has a mismatch all the time. And Randall came up big in the fourth quarter, just using his size, backing down, and just controlling the pace of the game. Even with Rudy Gobert out the majority of the fourth quarter. But I would insert Plumlee, and then I will also probably mix it up and play some zone if I were to Mitchell, the coach for the Spurs, probably play a little 2-3, maybe a little boxing one, just to counter because they're pulling Wimby out of the paint and then they're using screens. And normally when you talk about blocking out, you're talking about defense, but they're blocking him out on offense and driving to the basket. And so, although San Antonio do have some really good defensive guards, they're still getting blown by. Shannon blew by a couple of Spurs players. Anthony Edwards, of course, blew by a couple. Um, and they're making shots closer to the basket in the paint, mid range, because they're whatever play they call, they are screening and blocking out Wimby so that he's not able to block their shot. And I mean, Wimby had 11 blocks, 15 rebounds, um, and 11 points. So they got to be efficient offensively and defensively. This is just going to be a knockout, drag out fight. It's going to be a fun matchup. This could go 7 games. Um, Fox has to be more aggressive. They're paying them way too much to take the back seat. And I mean, he's getting paid the money, but everyone's focusing on Castle, which is a really good player, but he doesn't have playoff experience, the same experience that Darren Fox has. So Darren Fox has to step up. He has to be the second best player on the court with Wemby if they're going to win this series. And of course, Wemby's got to play better. This game might have been a game where they just needed to get their rhythm back. Because again, Minnesota they're just coming off um, the high of beating Minnesota, high of beating Denver without Anthony Edwards. Um, so the Spurs, even though they don't have a lot of experience, they're gonna have to get it together and make these defensive and offensive adjustments. I think they will. So it'll be interesting. Game 2 for both Philly and the Knicks, and then Spurs and the Timberwolves. Looking forward to those games. Of course, tonight is the first game for OKC and the Lakers, and I'm not going to say too much. I'm just curious to see how game one's going to go. Um, Detroit versus Cleveland. Let's see how that look. Let's see who wants it right now. Detroit, they're coming in real strong, looking real good. Uh, we'll see who wants it more. I think that's going to be a 50-50. The Cleveland, Detroit, it could go either way. It's just, who wants it more and who steps up. Um, it'll be interesting a series for both of those. So getting back to the Tigers, um, it's just with this whole recruitment thing, considering Penny Hardaway's career in this recruiting battle, that just saw a tweet where Memphis tweet banner UAB has won the recruitment of a top 10 JUCO commitment. So the trolling continues to go on. But I mean, just considering the career in the bigs that Penny has developed, Penny having played with Shaq, having played against Jordan, and NBA player, just Penny Hardaway's overall basketball career, then being a head coach and developing um, during Minot, Precious Achua, Lester Keonis, Kendrick Davis, and a host of other players that are playing overseas. Um, it's just hilariously ignorant uh, for Matt Ball to say that Andy Kennedy can develop me better than Penny Hardaway. So all I'm going to say is this: when conference play comes, we're going to see. I'm going to watch specifically Matt Bo Blow's numbers, his playing time, points per game, all those things, and then the next big that we sign, because I'm confident that we're going to sign a big pretty soon. Has to be better than the 3 or 4 bigs the UAB already has. And that really, like, you can almost say that their bigs aren't really proven or haven't been proven. Because they themselves pretty much have a whole team just like the Tigers do. But of course, I'd pick the Tigers over UAB all day, every day. Um, UAB, obviously, though, based off of this recruitment win, they're talking with their chests out, like they the ones, and they want all the smoke. So we'll see how that goes. Um, but I have no doubt that we're going to bring in a center that's going to help this team and contribute to this team and take us over the top in the AAC. Speaking of our team, another article was written again by Jason Muntz about the players that we have recruited. It goes on. There's a lot riding on the immediate future for Memphis basketball coach Penny Hardaway, whose program is trying to eradicate the misery of last season, of a lost season. The work Hardaway has put in to rebuild his roster, both from quality and efficiency standpoints, have not gone unnoticed. Quote, yeah, that looks like a team rather than just throwing a bunch of dudes together. One high major team assistant recently told the Commercial Appeal. Hardaway has formally signed 9 newcomers, including 5 transfers, and secured verbal commitments from 4 others, including 3 transfers, leaving him with 2 vacancies. What actually what actually is Memphis getting from the players who will be counted on to help Hardaway get the program back on track? Because the majority of the work in the transfer portal is done. The Commercial Appeal interviewed a variety of head coaches and assistants from the conferences where many of the Tiger transfers played in 2025-26, granting each of them anonymity to allow them to speak freely and objectively. So here we go. First player, Jaden Reed. The 5'10" senior guard came from Northwestern, spent last season in Northwestern. After 2 seasons at South Florida, he averaged 10 points, 5 assists per game, 6th best in the Big Ten for the Wildcats. A top assistant at the Big Ten institution, scouted Reed twice during the 25-26 season. Really good, quote, really good player, really quick. The assistant said more score first than pass first point guard, shoots well off the dribble, more pull up shooter than 3-point shooter, but he can get hot from three. To the coach's point, Reed sported a 39% mark behind the arc at South Florida before taking a step back at 31% at Northwestern. Reed's height might have been a hindrance for his overall game at Northwestern, the assistant suggested. Excuse me. He probably fits more of a spread, free flowing system than a bunch of sets and more disciplined system. He said defensively, he's okay on the perimeter. He will try. He has quick hands. He is a liability in the paint because of his size. It's hard to switch with him, so your system will have to cover. Your system will have to cover for his lack of size. I like him better as an off the bench spark plug than a starter dude, but it really depends on who he's on the floor with. End quote. Tyleek Weeks, perhaps the most prominent pickup for Hardaway. Bully Weeks averaged 19 points per game in his only season at Southern Miss, which was tops in the Sun Belt Conference. One SEC assistant who scouted Weeks in the transfer portal this offseason said there was one attribute that stood out above all else. He'll fit in Memphis because he just plays hard. He said, quote, not real skilled and not super explosive, but aggressive and just plays hard. He'll be bigger and stronger than most in the American. I like him. I think that's a good get for Memphis. One Sunbelt head coach highlighted his progression as the season played out, as well as his potential to further improvement. Quote, Bully is a very unique in today's world of analytic based offense, the head coach said. He's really good in the mid range, great driver, finishes well with conflict or contact, elite at drawing fouls, and a very good free throw shooter. Quote, he doesn't shoot the ball, he doesn't shoot the three well, but improved significantly as the season went on. Also, needs to improve playmaking for others. His commitment to defense will be tested at Memphis. He's an average rebounder and could be elite. He has good hands, better ball handler than most people realize as well. So that is uh, the scouting on Weeks. Now we have Brandon Cummings, who's a 6'3" former pit guard who currently has 2 seasons of eligibility remaining. Figures to line up between Reed and Weeks to form the Tigers starting backcourt. Cummings averaged 12 points, 2 assists, 1 rebound in 19 games. Quote, he can score the ball, said a high major assistant who went up against Cummings and Pitt during the 25-26 season. He's really good. I think he's going to be a good player for Memphis because he can score and not just because he's in the American Conference. Then there's Cornelius Williams, 6'9", North Alabama transfer, is the only big man currently on the Hardaway roster. So he may be actually shoulder a sizable load. And the Pony Atlantic Sun head coach who saw Williams 4 times during his 2 season stint with the Lions began his evaluation with the obvious that, quote, he was the best rebounder in the league. The coach said, even better on the offensive glass. The numbers back that up because Williams averaged 9 rebounds in 2 seasons. Last season, he was 12th in the country with 3.8 rebounds per game. Although Williams' offensive game was rather limited the past 2 seasons, coach said he made up for it in the effort and efficiency departments. And so that is pretty much the scouting. Um, oh, I'm missing one. Luke from Southern, let's see where, Southeast Missouri. Uh, oh, and Josh Holloway. Okay, Josh Holloway. This is his scout. The Memphis native comes to the Tigers from Texas A&M, of course. He spent 2 seasons at Sanford before that, primarily a point guard. Holloway can also play off the ball and has SE talent in terms of guard play, according to a sitting SEC assistant coach. He's fast, explosive, tough kid, really, really, really good on the ball defender. When Texas A&M wanted to turn up the heat, he was excellent guarding the ball, being aggressive, very athletic, fast, and explosive. So in Penny's system, if he goes back to pressing like he used to, Holloway could be a major add there. The downside with Holloway, according to the assistant, he doesn't shoot it particularly well, and he doesn't always make great decisions. Said, noting that his 46 turnovers compared to just 61 assists at Texas A&M, he was always trying to do too much. If he could stay within singles and not home runs, he will be such better off. So basically, just based off that, it looks like um, we're gonna have a point guard battle in the backcourt for the Tigers, and then there's Luke Almodovar. Speaking of athleticism, Southeast Missouri transfer shooting guard Luke brings plenty of it to Memphis, but the 6'3" Indiana native can also score. He put up 14 points per game as a junior last season, good enough for 10th in the league in scoring, while also grabbing 3 rebounds a game. Luke impressed at least one opposing Ohio Valley coach with those facets of his game. Quote, he's a good player and will be a good piece for Memphis. Coach said, Coach, uh, he'll be a good piece for Memphis. Really good shooter, scorer, mindset, really good athlete. He can play, especially as an option C. Luke's defense, however, may need some work. And so that's pretty much the scout of the transfers that Penny's put together. Overall, a good group of guys based off the highlights that I've seen and with the scouting that other coaches around the country, with at least within their division, and those that have scouted them, um, sound like a promising group, a developing group that can only get better. And then, of course, we have Thetford and we have Wofford that are returning Tigers to the fold. We talked about Aaron Bradshaw at the beginning of the show, and he could have been uh, a good, I would say, a nice addition um, to the already to the group, at least a shot blocker of some sort. Just develop his game over the summer, but he's decided to transfer to Tennessee State. And I wonder if his decision to transfer was, just him trying to find a better deal. Maybe he just wanted to put his name out there to see if anybody will be interested in him, and maybe that didn't all work out the way he thought, and so Tennessee State was there. I don't know. I don't know what happened behind the scenes, or exactly why he put in. There was um, Majok, who I believe he stated that he didn't want to transfer, but because his agent advised him to, or it sounded like his agent did it for him. He put his name in the transfer portal, and then like 2 or 3 days later, he's committed to Nevada. So there's a whole lot going on behind the scenes with agents, NIL, influencing players to put their name in the portal. I tweeted this the other day that it used to be one and done was high school to the NBA. Now one and done is going from one school to the next school to the next school. You got guys that are putting their name in the transfer portal 2, 3, and 4 times. Uh, Basically just being one and done, and instead of staying, developing their game with whatever school they originally commit to, or the school that they feel like they can contribute more or get more playing time. I will never understand how you can have a team, half sophomore, maybe a mixture of juniors and seniors. Those seniors leave, and you have sophomores that put their name in the portal still, who want more playing time and could get their playing time if they just stayed at the school that they're at instead of putting their name in the transfer portal. That just doesn't make sense to me, but we're seeing that all across the country right now. Another thing that I am seeing unrelated to that is the style of play. Uh, it's interesting, the style of play in the NBA. We're starting to see more, of course, positionless basketball, where you had your point guard, your shooting guard, small forward, your power forward, and then your center. Well, now we're seeing more guards and wings, and then maybe one center, one enforcer down low. A whole lot of spread offense, a lot of 3-point shooting instead of the mid range. We're seeing a whole lot of 4 guard lineups, like the Knicks, pretty much guards and wings, and then they got Carl Anthony Towns in the middle. Boston Celtics, they play the same way. The same way. Guards, wings, one center. Uh, so that's not a new thing. I would say probably going on. I don't know, since Golden State had their little championship runs. Playing small ball has been a going trend in basketball, uh, from high school to college, and it's more so now, even more prevalent today, in the NBA. Final word before I dip out. Um, Minnesota was able to get Anthony Edwards, and this is a shot at the Grizzlies training staff, their medical staff. Minnesota was able to get Anthony Edwards ready to play in about 10 days from a hyperextended knee. I'm just going to say this. Going into next season, Memphis Grizzlies, medical staff, strength and conditioning staff, y'all got to tighten up. There's no way, in my mind, with all these injuries that we have coming out before game, where such and such is out 2 weeks, 3 weeks, for from a fan's point of view, from my point of view, minor injuries that we can't get our players out on the court. I don't know if it's a player thing or a medical thing where they have to be cleared. Anthony Edwards, he's known to be a fast healer, according to him and according to other people within their organization. We got to do better. We got to do better next season. And I'll just leave it there. I never want to question a player's energy um, and a player's energy and his desire to play. Um, injuries happen, but Anthony Edwards, for him to be able to come back from a knee injury, both knees bothering him, put up 18 points in 25 minutes. No reason that Ja couldn't play the second half of the season. There's no reason that Zach Edey couldn't play at all in the second half of the season. That's my theory, and I'm sticking to it. So I'm gonna wrap it up there for this podcast. Uh, Looking forward to the games tonight. Make sure you like and subscribe. Please comment, interact. I look forward to hearing what you have to say and what your thoughts are on the NBA playoffs. Have a peaceful, productive day. See you next time.